Hello my dear students, welcome back to the virtual class. So today we'll continue with the chapter. So last time we started with chapter number 2 from history, Industrial Revolution and the Rise of Imperialism, chapter number 2. So in this we discussed Industrial Revolution, the causes of the revolution, and why did the Industrial Revolution start in England. So that we have already done in the previous part. So those who have not watched the previous part, so the link is shared in the description box, so please do watch it for your better understanding, and please watch this video till the last. Okay, so now let's start with so today we are going to discuss about the impact of Industrial Revolution. What was the impact of Industrial Revolution? So as you know that Industrial Revolution brought a drastic change in the world, and that led to many positive as well as negative impact on the world. Okay, so the impact of Industrial Revolution. First of all, we'll discuss about the economic impact of the Industrial Revolution. So you know that Industrial Revolution radically changed the entire fabric of Western society. The transformation was so profound that conditions of life changed beyond recognitions. It completely changed the entire outlook of the Western society. So now, the first impact of economic impact is urbanization, towns. Okay, so Industrial Revolution led to the growth of many towns and cities where factories were set up. Okay, people from villages began to migrate to these cities and towns in search of jobs. The shifting of the population from rural areas to the urban areas was an important development of the Industrial Revolution. That means people got an opportunity of getting livelihood. Got it? People from villages, they now started migrating to cities and towns where factories were set up. Even today you see, recently due to this COVID-19, you might have seen that many of the migrant laborers, workers, they came back to their states. Many had gone from the state of West Bengal, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, and many more other states to the city areas where factories were there. So now due to all these factories were closed, so they returned back to their states. So after much difficulty, they reached back to their states. Okay, so same way when Industrial Revolution took place, it led to the growth of many towns and cities, and many factories were set up in those areas where people from villages, they migrated in search of jobs, and they stayed there and settled over there. Okay, so it led to urbanization, building of towns and cities. Okay, urban means town or cities, rural means villages. Now next one is factory system. Now let us see what happened when this factory system was introduced. So when this factory system was introduced, my dear, it completely destroyed the domestic system of production. So in the previous class we discussed domestic system of productions, where the family members were given raw materials by the merchants. They made goods out of that, and merchants collected from them and sold it to the distant market. Okay, now with the start of Industrial Revolution and the setting of factory system of production, okay, the domestic system of production completely was destroyed. Okay, now first of all, the workers went to work in factories. That means workers now went to work in factories, and machine goods were manufactured. Machine goods were manufactured on large scale. So the work was divided between the people according to their ability and capability. Okay, first of all, it destroyed the domestic system of production. That we know it. Then these people, the workers who went to work in factories, they were given the work according to their ability. The work was divided and given to the workers according to their ability and capability. Okay, the next one is division of labor. According to your capability and according to your labor, the work will be divided among the workers. Okay, So one of the most important characteristic features of Industrial Revolution was the division of labor. So that is, each person or a group of people performed a specialized task. In which field you are very much specialized, that work was given to you. Okay. So that was all about division of labor. Labor given according to your capability and your capacity. Got it? So it doesn't mean that whatever work was there, it was given to anyone. No. The person who can do that particular work was given that task to be performed. Okay. So division of labor. Next one. Due to the Industrial Revolution, the capitalist system was born. That means it led to the concentration of wealth in the hands of wealthy persons, and this way capitalist system was born, my dear. What is meant by capitalist system? Capitalist system is a system in which the rich becomes richer and richer and poor becomes poorer and poorer. That means wealth is concentrated in the hands of few people only. So they earn out of that. So in the capitalist system, workers, that means two parts are there: the wealthy owners and the poor workers. They are paid according to their labor. Okay. So during that time, few rich people own the means of production. So what is the meaning of means of production? Means of production means land, labor, capital, and organization. This comes under the means of production. Okay. So in order to produce anything, first of all you need a land, then you need a capital, that means investment, then you need a labor, workers, okay, then you need a organization or entrepreneur. Okay, that means a proper management has to be done by a organization. So all these four elements are required in order to do any sort of production, which we know it as means of production. Okay, so here we understand that capitalist class was very less in number. Very few people were very wealthy and rest of the people were workers. So the vast majority of workers were employed by the capitalists in their factories and worked under them for wages. They were given wages, daily wages. They were paid according to their work. Okay, they worked for the capitalists. So in this situation, my dear, what we saw was that the workers were exploited by the capitalists and lived in poverty and misery. The life of the workers were very, very pathetic. They lived in a very poor condition. Their life was very, very miserable. Okay, they just earned what they worked for, but the entire profit was enjoyed by the owner of the factories, who were known as capitalists. Okay, so there was that we can say there was a gap. There was a gap between the rich and the that means gap between the rich capitalists and the poor workers. A huge gap or gulf was there between the rich capitalists and the poor workers. Okay, so capitalists were thus the haves, while the workers were known as have-nots. The capitalist was known as haves, H-A-V-E-S, and the workers were known as have-nots, N-O-T-S. Okay, have class and have-not class. Okay, have means they have everything, whereas the workers, they just have their work. That also if they are given. If they don't have work, they are thrown out. Okay. So economic inequalities led to social inequalities. Whenever there is a difference in economic inequalities, you are very rich, I am very poor. So in this way, the social inequality also will eventually grow up. There will be a growth of a social inequality, and this social inequality is born due to economic inequality. Economic inequality means gap between the rich and the poor. Okay. Capitalist class were very wealthy and rich. They were the owners of the factories, whereas the have-not class were the poor workers. So huge gap between the rich and the poor. Okay. And due to this, my dear, due to this differences between the rich and the poor, and due to social inequalities, it eventually led to the growth of socialism. This we'll discuss later on. Okay. The first system is capitalism, capitalist system, in which the rich becomes richer and richer, poor becomes poorer and poorer. So here few wealthy people, they own the factories. Okay, they had all the means of production, whereas the workers worked for them and they were paid wages. They were given the wages. Wages means daily work. When you do, you are paid certain amount, that is known as wages. Okay. Next one is expansion of trade and commerce. expansion of trade and commerce. So due to large scale production, okay, this led to the growth of trade and commerce. Trade and commerce also increased rapidly. As before, when domestic system of production was there, the goods were produced according to the demands and the needs of the people. Now, with the introduction of factory system of production, the goods were produced in large quantities, and the surplus goods after fulfilling the demands of the people, whatever goods were left out, that was known as surplus goods. So that surplus goods now need to be sold, and for that market was required. Okay, so surplus goods were sold to other countries. Whatever we have, that demand goods are fulfilled. The goods fulfills our demand, and the remaining goods now cannot be thrown. So those goods were sold to the other countries. Okay, and due to that, profits were increased. Okay, increasing profit made the industrialized nation rich and prosperous. All the industrialized countries became very, very rich and prosperous. Okay, and then trade also expanded. Trade also went on increasing and increasing. Okay, and that became possible due to steam ships were there. By that time, steam engine was already discovered by James Watt. Okay, steam ships were there. That means steamers were there, steam ships were there, which carried goods from their country to other countries. Okay, so steam ships were being used to transport goods from one part to another. Okay, so at that time, that steam ship was very, very superior at that stage. Today we have high electronic ships and all. Okay, the ships are, their goods are imported and exported through ocean routes, sea routes and all on the ships. So definitely, my dear, trade also expanded rapidly, and that became possible due to surplus goods. Okay, and the increased manufacture of goods. So as production increased, further this nation began to look for new market. As trade went on increasing and increasing, now they were in search of new countries where they could sell their finished goods. Okay, like India also was a colony of the British Empire. No, so we were their colony because we provide them market. Today you see Chinese goods are sold in our market, so we are the market for the sellers. Lot of consumers are there in our country, so we depend upon other country goods. So we provide them opportunity, that is why they come and sell. So increased production led to those industrial nations to look for new markets for the sale of their finished products. So this in turn led to competition among the European countries. Before, England was there. Later on, industrial revolution spread to other European countries like Germany was there, Italy was there. Okay, then even other countries like USA, Japan and all. So all these countries, they now were in hunt for colonies, and they were in search for more and more markets. So that led to the competition among the European nations. Okay, and they wanted to acquire more and more colonies. Okay, in faraway lands. Got it? So those colonies in which they had a political as well as economic control, okay, were ready markets for their manufactured goods. So these countries, they did not produce any goods. They provided the market for the European countries who sold their goods in these countries. Okay. And not only these colonies were the market for the finished good, but it also supplied them raw materials. So, just for example, if we talk about India provided raw materials. India was a source of raw materials. So, the English man, they bought raw materials from our country, took them to their country, made it into a finished goods, and again it was brought back to India and sold it. So they were traders. Okay, so India served two purposes for the European countries. Number one, it provided raw materials, cheap raw materials, and the market for their finished goods. Okay, hope you are understanding. So this is all about expansion of trade and commerce and hunt for more and more colonies to sell their surplus goods. Got it? Now, as I told you earlier, socialism, due to inequality, social inequalities and economic inequalities, what we saw, there was a rise of socialism. Okay, so socialism was a reaction. Socialism was a reaction against the evils of the capitalism. The capitalist class, they did not take care of the working class. They just were bothered, they were least bothered to look after the problems of the workers. Due to the workers, they earned huge profit, but they did not provide them any facilities. Got it? So, the socialism was a reaction. Socialism was a reaction to the evils of the capitalism. So, what is socialism? Capitalism, I told you, capitalism is a system in which few wealthy people earn, that means hold the means of production. They become rich and rich. They become richer and richer. Because they have the wealth, they'll invest in other business. Again, they'll earn profit. So this way the money is rotated among them only. Okay. But socialism is a system, my dear. There is no provision of private ownership. Socialism is a system under which there is no provision of a private ownership of capital. Got it? People in a socialist setup would not be divided into rich and poor. All will be treated equally. That means the means of production is owned by the society as a whole. The means of production is in the hands, or it is owned by the society as a whole. Okay? So in a socialistic system, there is no differences between rich and poor. All are treated equally. Okay? So everybody will work. Each and every people will work in the socialistic system, and according to their labor, according to their capability, the profit will be shared among them. Okay? That means everybody would work and share equally the profits, that is the fruits of their labor. We all have worked together. Okay? All the people will work together, and whatever profit will be earned, my dear, that will be shared among the workers. So there is an absence of private property. So once again, capitalism. In capitalism, the few wealthy people, they hold the means of production, capitalists in their hand. Okay, there is a difference between the rich and the poor. Okay, rich becomes richer and richer. Once again, let me tell you, and poor condition becomes poorer and poorer. Okay, they live in abject poverty, and their life is very, very miserable. Whereas in a socialistic system, which was the outcome, which was the reaction against the evils of capitalism, here in this there is a difference. There is no differences between rich and poor. Everybody is treated equally. The means of production is owned by the society as a whole. Everybody would work and share equally the profits, that is the fruits of their labor. Okay, that is all about socialism. So thus in socialism there is no chances of exploitation. In capitalist system, exploitation was there. Exploitation means what? The worker works day and night for you, and the profit is enjoyed by the owner. Okay, and the workers are given the wages only. So if they don't come for a day, they are thrown out of the job. Okay, if they remain sick or if they remain absent, again they loses their job. Okay, so there was no job security for the workers. Just they will work and wage will be given to them. There is no sharing of profit to the workers. Okay, so that is why, my dear, so the exploitation was completely wiped out, and the classless society based on economic and social equality would be established. So economic and social equality was established in socialism. Okay. Now, the next one we have is social effect. The economic effect, you just now I taught you. Hope you all have understood it. Okay. Please sit there. Don't move anywhere. Complete this video till the end. Okay. You have to watch the video till the end. If you leave in the middle, again there will be a problem. So, social effect. The first one is social inequality. So, the economic differences between the rich and the rich capitalist and the poor workers led to the gross social inequalities that we know it. So there was a wide gulf between the social status of capitalists and the workers. A huge gap between the rich capitalists and the workers. Now let us discuss one by one what were those. First one, harsh living condition of the workers. Harsh living condition of the workers. The working condition of the workers was not very good. Now first of all, let me tell you, my dear, when industrial revolution started, okay, many of the people they migrated to the cities and towns in search of jobs, and due to that, cities grew rapidly. Cities grew rapidly. Okay, and that cities which grew rapidly was without any proper planning. Wherever people they were settled. Okay, it was done without planning and all. Okay, so as population grew, my dear, cities became overcrowded. People from the villages, they flocked towards the city areas, and that way, my dear, the city became overcrowded, and people were forced to live in crowded homes. Just one room, 5 or 6 people they had to stay. Okay, crowded homes in that means squalid surroundings and without proper sanitation facilities. Just like in India, also in city areas where factories are, there's a small room, 5 or 6 people will stay there. And during this COVID-19, you might have seen people giving interview. People were locked up in a during lockdown. People were locked up in a single room. 15 to 16 people were there in a single room, small room. That was their living condition. Okay, they just go there to earn, and there is no proper planning for their establishment or providing them housing and all. Nothing like that. Okay, the same way during the industrial revolution, people who migrated means to move from one place to another in search of jobs. Okay, so they settled there, and due to the growth of population means suddenly people were not born. People from other places they went and settled there. Due to that, number increased in that cities. Okay, and when they settled there, my dear, their living condition was not very good. Okay, they were without proper sanitation facilities. Okay, drains coming out on the road. There is no proper water flowing system and all. Everything was very dirty, and due to that, my dear, large number of slums sprang up. Slums, you know, jhoparpattis in Bombay and all. You see jhoparpattis and all, small huts are there. Okay, and it's dirty area, my dear. Their living condition is not very good. Okay, so large number of slums sprang up. Black smoke filled the air. Black smoke filled the air, and in the absence of basic amenities, the health of the workers broke down. Health of the workers broke down. Simple, if you work day and night in a factory, and when you go home and when you sleep or rest in that environment, definitely you will become sick, my dear. And there was no proper health system, health facilities to check you every day that you are okay or not. So due to all this, my dear, the health of the workers broke down. Disease and epidemics took a heavy toll of human life. Epidemics, whenever a disease was spread, it swept away the whole city or area. There was no vaccines during that time. That is why even a simple cholera fever, we call it viral fever and cholera, that time it killed many of the people. So it has been mentioned, according to the report of a slum in Manchester, my dear, all the inhabitants had died due to cholera epidemic in the early 1830s. In 1830s, due to epidemic cholera, okay, cholera epidemic, lot of people died. Health facilities were not there. Okay, today you see, due to all this COVID-19, they are working very hard to find out the vaccine for this. Definitely, hopefully, they will definitely get the vaccine to it. So, lot of diseases were there long time back for which there was no vaccine, and that took away many lives. But today we have the vaccine for those diseases. Okay, the poor living condition, my dear. That is why we always request the people to live in a healthy environment. Keep your surroundings neat and clean. Okay, throw the garbages in the dustbin, not on the drain, not in the drains and all. Okay, children. So this is all about the working condition of the people. Working means in factories they used to work, but the people where they lived was not at all hygienic. They lived in a very poor condition without any proper sanitations. Okay, children. Now, next one is exploitation of workers. Exploitation of workers. The capitalist class, my dear, what to say? Capitalists amassed enormous wealth. They earn huge wealth on the expenses of the workers. We work day and night, and who enjoyed the profit? The capitalist class. Okay, and the majority of the capitalist class, they totally depend on the employers. Okay, the capitalists amassed enormous wealth at the expense of the workers, majority of whom were totally dependent on their employers. So workers had no job security. What is the meaning of job security? Today I have a work, whether I'll have a job tomorrow or not, no guarantee. Anytime they may say you leave, I have to leave. There is no job security. Okay, that means workers had no job security and they could be dismissed at any time. They worked on very low wages. They were paid very, very low wages and under extreme harsh condition. Okay, the capitalists exploited the workers by forcing them to work, my dear, almost 16 hours. 16 hours. Just imagine, 16 hours they were forced to work. Without a break, they were forced to work. They were not allowed to go on a strike. Today, if anything goes wrong with the worker, they go on the road and they go on for a strike. They have a union, associations are there. But that time, they were not allowed to go for a strike. Okay. Now, what about the condition of women and children? It is said women and children were employed in large numbers because they were paid very low salaries as compared to men. Okay. So women and children were employed in large numbers in deep and dangerous coal mines. In the coal mines, they were given the jobs to work. They worked from dawn to dusk. From dawn means the beginning of the day before the sunrise. Dusk means after the sunset. They worked from dawn to dusk, my dear, on extremely low wages. They are paid very, very low wages. No compensation was paid to workers. If anybody died while working in a coal mine, they were not given any compensation. Okay. If any of the workers died in a factory working, they were not given compensation. So no compensation was paid to workers for injury or death due to accident in mines and factories. Okay. So the extremely stressful working and living condition. They lived a very stressful working condition. They lived in a very stressful working condition. So we can say that the extremely stressful working and living conditions led to the decline of moral values among the workers. Life became struggle for survival and community bonds broke down amongst the people. Community bonds broke down amongst the people. So this is, on one side, there was a setup of factories which destroyed the domestic system of production. Countries developed, but on what ground people say countries were developed when the workers' condition was overlooked? Everywhere, who suffers the most? The workers suffers the most. The workers are exploited always. They earn huge profit due to the hard work and hard labor of the workers, but they ignore it. They overlook their hard work and all. They just enjoy the profit. And they just overlook the pathetic condition of the workers. So we can say that due to all this, my dear, due to stressful working, stress means I work day and night, at home I come and rest, I don't have mood to talk with my family members, also I'm very much tensed, whether tomorrow when I go to work, whether I'll be given a job or not. A stressful life. Tense life. Okay, it led to the decline of moral values among the workers. So this is all about the social effect of an industrial revolution. Social inequality, harsh living condition of the workers, exploitation of the workers by the capitalist class, okay, in which the living condition was not good. Women and children's condition also was very, very pathetic. They were given very, very low salaries, low wages. Okay, children. So this is what we call about industrial revolution. The economic impact, the social impact. Okay, or we can say effect of industrial revolution. So both positive as well as negative. Due to industrial revolution, prosperity increased, countries developed, but on the other side, the working class, they suffered a lot, and there was a rise of socialism to end this capitalist system. Got it? So the next one, the political effect of industrial revolution. So the rise of capitalists, that we know it. Prior to the industrial revolution, landowners enjoyed great wealth, privileges and political influence. The industrial revolution led to an emergence of wealthy and powerful capitalist class as a dominant force in the British Parliament. The wealthy class, they became very, very dominant in the British Parliament. So government policies were influenced by the interest of the capitalist class. So that is always there, my dear. The wealthy people, they have a full political control. They influence the political leaders. In our country also, you see, most of the great capitalist class, wealthy people, they influence the government to give them some favor, and that is been seen also. Okay. The next one is trade unions. So when the condition of the workers started becoming worse, my dear, then definitely to fight for their right, fight for the better working condition, okay, and to fight against the ruthless exploitation of the workers by the capitalists, the people started uniting themselves and they formed unions, trade unions. So the ruthless exploitation of the workers by the capitalists led to protest. Okay, they united and organized themselves into trade unions to fight for their rights and better working condition. The trade union faced strong resistance from the employers. The employers, Malik, right? They pressurized these people to break these trade unions and all. But in spite of all this, in many countries, clash between the trade union and the capitalists led to bloodshed, even killing. Okay, the struggle of trade unions was long and arduous, continued for a long time. The vast majority of workers did not have the right to vote, so that is why their voice was completely unheard. So the determination and the efforts of the trade unions eventually bore fruit. The government passed several factory laws. Several factory laws were passed to improve the condition of the workers and grant them certain rights. The government was forced to pass several laws in favor of the working class. So that is all about trade unions. Okay, and the last part is the rise of imperialism. Imperialism. Okay, so what is the meaning of imperialism? Imperialism is a policy. Let me tell you. So imperialism is a policy of extending countries' power and influence to other countries through the use of military force, colonization or other means. Okay, that is what we call imperialism. Let me tell you in simple words, the rich ruling over the weak, rich controlling the poor countries' economic and political control. So India also was one of the colony of the British Empire, where our political system and the economic system was completely controlled by the British government. And finally, we became frustrated and we fought for our independence. And finally, in the year 1947, India became free. Okay, children. So you might have heard, I'll teach you in the later chapters, my dear. East India Company came to India not to rule us, just to trade in our country. But later on, when they got the opportunity, they became the ruler, my dear. Did you understand? So that is all about the capitalist expanding their trade in other countries. Got it? So this rich capitalist class, they influence the government policies, and with the help of the government, my dear, they got the trading rights to trade with other countries of the world. Okay, and just if I tell you about in relation in Britain and India, in the 19th century, my dear, British has started an aggressive policy of conquering nations, conquering territories in India in 19th century. This need to acquire and expand territorial positions in India was fueled by the desperate need to sustain rapid industrial growth in Britain. So by the middle of 19th century, British had conquered almost the whole of India. So they came as a trader and later on they became the master. So in the 19th century, they were in a hurry to conquer the whole of India. That means they wanted to control the political condition of India properly in their hands, so that without an obstacle they can continue the trading policy in our country. They can buy raw materials at cheap rate and send it to England, and finished goods they'll bring it from England and they'll sell it in the Indian markets. Their main motive was to earn profit. That is why, my dear, India became the jewel in the British crown, and Britain was transformed into an international economic giant. Due to us, they earned huge, my dear. Today also, if you look around, my dear, East India Company is still there. Name is different. They are not ruling, but our economy is controlled by them. Okay, so the time to boycott these countries, my dear, so that we can become self-sufficient. We have to depend upon our own goods. We can also produce. We have great engineers and all. We can produce various goods, my dear. And the thing is that we have to change our taste. We have to boycott those goods which empowers their economy, and on the other side they show us eyes and threaten to occupy our territory. Okay, children, so let us give up those goods which are not made in our country. Let us use the goods made in our country so that it will boost up our economy. Let us help ourselves. Okay, so my dear, so almost 200 years British rule was there in our country. 200 years, and within these 200 years, my dear, just imagine, my dear, India was exploited very badly. India was exploited in such a way, my dear, we cannot, it is taking us time to regain back our economic system, my dear. We are still not fully developed, my dear. Still a lot of problems are there. It is all because they exploited our natural resources, and economically we were very much exploited. And who gave them opportunity? We were only responsible for that. Okay, children. So let us now end our chapter, my dear. So let me tell you once again. Two things we studied over here: capitalism and socialism. So in the higher classes, you'll come to know in detail about capitalism and socialism. So let me tell you before I end it. Capitalism is an economic system in which industry and business are controlled and run for profit by private owners rather than by the government. Okay. Then socialism is a set of economic theories based on the belief that everyone has an equal right to a share of the country's wealth, and that the government should control the main industries. That is the theory, belief. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of colonialism? Colonialism is a policy by which one nation acquires control over another country, either partly or wholly. Okay, the conquered country becomes a colony of the conquering nation, known as the colonial power. Okay, this is all about all these things. So we have come to the end of this chapter, my dear. Okay, so in this chapter we discuss about what is meant by industrial revolution, the features of industrial revolution, causes of industrial revolution. Okay, why did industrial revolution start in England? Then spread of industrial revolution, then the impact of industrial revolution. Okay, in which economic impact we discussed under the heading urbanization, factory system, division of labor, capitalism and economic disparity. Then expansion of trade and commerce, then socialism. Then we discuss about social effect under the heading social inequality, harsh living condition of the workers, exploitation of workers, which includes both men, women, and small children. Then political effect of industrial revolution, the rise of capitalist trade unions. Then the last one, the rise of imperialism. Okay, so this is how, my dear, we have come to the end of this chapter. Okay, so the exercises work will be given to you very shortly. Until that time, you please go through this chapter once again, and the previous tutorial also, please watch it for the continuity, so that it will be easy for you to understand about industrial revolution. Okay, industrial revolution. Okay, so my dear students, so we have come to the end of this chapter, end of today's class. So hopefully we'll meet again in next class. So till then, please, whatever work is given to you, complete it. Okay, I'll come in the next class with a new chapter. So till then, take care, stay safe, bye bye.